All right, we got a best of 3 PvP, so guaranteed Totas in the finals. In the top left, we do have DKZ's herO. And on the bottom right, it is Matcherino's Astrea. Astrea able to pick up 2 victories versus Solar with 2 base all-ins. Did what he had to do. Now he faces herO in a PvP, of which I imagine there will be a couple of 1 base all-ins. But that's the nature of the matchup. Can't really call anyone cheesy for that. But both these players are unique. Astrea might have some more goofiness? I don't know. It's like, you know, what's the difference between like a nerd and a geek? And it's a very slight difference. Astrea's got more like goofy games, but herO has more forehead slapping games. You know what I mean? So there's something different there. but not by much. But seriously, they both are known for their aggression in sometimes weird senses. herO far more well-known overall, I suppose, just being, you know, the guy from the good old days as well, and being Korean. But I don't know, I feel like when it comes to PvP in the year 2024, they both have an equal chance at killing each other abruptly. We have Astrea going for a no wall-off PvP, which kind of ends up being a bit of a trap. If the opposing Protoss player says, oh, you fool, you can't play PvP, and makes Adepts, then there's actually a chance that they'll still defend against the Adepts. There's some clever, like, building, like a pylon there, or just the Adepts will shade in right over there, and they won't really get the most effective probe line kills. Yeah, whatever. And then otherwise, it can also cause a bit of a panic if the opposing Protoss player scouts and goes, ah, where are your gateways? But you should always be checking for the second pylon anyway. Unless you just don't scout at all. And that is actually what herO is doing. So herO is not going to get momentarily tripped up by the lack of 2 gateways at the front. He's not going to be more pressured into going for double Adepts because he knows there's no wall. And he's also... I mean, that's basically the 2 things I can think of, actually. The whole not walling in PvP is an interesting decision by some of the North American Protoss players, I would say. More so than anyone else. Nina does this quite a bit, and Astrea will do it, as you can see. But both players have very aggressive builds. Stargate for herO. Astrea opted for a pylon to the top right, but it's actually his 3rd pylon, so he's not trying to sneak a 2nd pylon tech deception. He's trying to sneak a lack of natural expansion deception, but it's not really a deception. He's actually not going for a natural. He absolutely was planning to, as you can see by his minerals. He just realized that something was up when he scouted. I actually don't know what the fuck he scouted. I think he's got a probe or something? I mean, it looked like he wanted to get the Nexus, and then decided better off. It got the Twilight Council. Wall just in time for the Adept. I think he just was wary of Adepts appearing. And still has not found the proxy Stargate. Oh my gosh. Well, he will get that 3rd Nexus. The Adepts will scout that, and the game will continue. Oracle heading into the main base, however, is bad news for Astrea, who wasn't prepared for that. The Adepts distracted the Stalkers on the front. Now the Oracle gets free reign in the main, and the Minerals probe line actually did get destroyed. We just don't have the probe kill pop-up, so that was very confusing. 7 probes went down. There it is. The Adepts will not be allowed into the main base, but that is the only good news for Astrea, who now is behind by 5 workers. He does have a slightly faster Nexus. Excuse me, and he will have faster blink. But that is pretty good damage on the side of herO. Not necessarily game-ending. But there's really no way for Astrea to slap back at him. You know, if he had his own Oracle that then swooped in and, you know, maybe got a stasis trap or something, and it'd be back and forth. But going into this blink, having only Stalkers, they're unlikely to go across the map, especially without blink. And then... Yeah. What you can do is you could, as Astrea, you could still add on more gateways, go for a 2-base attack, surprise herO who wasn't expecting it, certainly stop herO from getting as fast of a 3rd base. In general, Astrea can get a faster 3rd base, whether he gets gateways first or not, because he's the one who's going to have the map control when blink is done. So there's good news. It's just that the good news for Astrea is coming a lot later than the very early bad news, which was losing so many probes to the Oracle. Is that Stargates that I found out? He got so close to scouting it. Ay, ay, ay. Alright, so this actually isn't a lot of gateways, guys, but it is a lot of warp in. So Astrea's been using his 2 gateways to warp in continuously. If herO was not doing that and was only building off of his tech structures, then he might have a lack of units to protect... Oh, Jesus. To protect that Immortal. Didn't happen, and Adepts got into the main base with the Oracle to force Astrea to recall back home. He will kill the Oracle. He will kill 1 of 2 Adepts. But he did still take that stasis trap damage, as well as a few more probes with the damage, probably like 4 more with the Adepts. So very unfortunate game, yet still for Astrea. Not finding any opportunities to get really into herO's face. And herO isn't going to go for a 3rd base, at least not first. He actually was maybe going to move out. Without a Warp Prism, I'm not sure about that. I think he was looking for Stalkers. Or maybe a proxy. Actually, he might have been looking for a proxy gate, too. Thinking that Astrea could be all-inning him. Astrea kind of is. This Phoenix is going to scout a someone who's not really set up to all-in, but who might still be doing so. I mean, just because they're not full of gateways right now doesn't mean that they won't be soon. So Astrea's like just supply blocked, so that's not helping him. Does manage to kill 1 of the Stalkers, but none of the Immortals. 3 of them now in charge. Sentry was the Guardian Shield, too. I don't know, guys. It feels like Astrea is out of options. His pressure has not done anything, really, even though it maybe could have delayed herO's 3rd Nexus. In the grand scheme of things, it really hasn't. So Astrea's 3rd Nexus isn't coming down all that much faster. I should say, as fast as he would need to make up for the supply deficit. There you go. Astrea is going to at least further delay it, so he'll have half a Nexus ahead of his opponent. That is good, but there is a Warp Prism. Oh, and herO could turn this into attack. He could do this while getting a 3rd Nexus and still have the control, as the Immortals are really just very, very scary. With the Warp Prism there to protect them, too. Astrea is going to have to show some fancy footwork, some Blink Micro, to win out against that army. And herO will be bringing up Blink behind this, if it doesn't just end the game right here, right now. But Astrea is not going to go for the defense. He is going to go for the ballsy base trade. Finds 1 of the reinforcing Immortals, which is a good start. But now we are full on in base trade territory. And what can Astrea do to actually win the base trade? Eventually, the fights will have to come. And then I don't think Astrea wins the fight. If he had charge ready faster with more Zealots, I think he actually could do a lot here, but not many Zealots are involved. Probes have been pulled in here. Immortal still being juggled by the Warp Prism. Stalkers get recalled with the Guardian Shield to help out. Maybe Astrea can make this happen. The Warp Prism is trying to get shot down. It does go down. And now just as the Immortals will take down, but they have been getting so many shots off. They've actually done a lot of damage to the probe line, and they have taken down a fair number of Stalkers as well. That is 38 probes killed for Astrea in total, as Astrea was picking away and a few more probes over on herO's side of the map. I guess we also have to consider it's 3 bases versus 2. It's charge versus no charge. It's 38 army supply versus 14. herO might have the probes, but he doesn't have the 3rd base, and he doesn't have the army. I think herO actually does lose this game. Astrea, with the big brain tactics, I doubted his ability to hold at home because the charge lot numbers were not impressive. But the probes were so freaking helpful against pure Stalker Immortal. Those probes were miracle workers, and now it is time for herO's probes to be miracle workers, but unfortunately, if they lose as many of their lives, there's no 3rd Nexus to fall back on. herO is trying desperately to hold on, but the Immortal has been cut off from the actual engagement. 1 last force field, a recall force to try desperately to hold on, but after so many Stalkers have already died, the Immortal didn't have its barrier, and Astrea somehow has pulled a rabbit out of his hat, and has won game 1 against a herO. I mean, no. This kid, though. NA PvP. It's exceptional. That was only game 1. We're into game 2. Bottom left, it is herO. Top right of Hecate, it is Astrea. And Astrea managed to win that last game, despite the odds being against him. Ended up being a perfect situation, forcing the base trade, where herO was then obligated to take an engagement against, a mass amount of probes. really allowed Astrea to win out in the battle hardcore. Very akin to a TBT, where you have the defending Terran pull the SCVs, take a fight that leaves the attacker very low on army supply, but ahead in workers, and then the counterattack might kill him. And I don't think it works nearly as perfectly if herO wasn't as bunched up against the wall, first of all. If he was utilizing the ramp, like all of his army was on the low ground and Astrea was pulling stalkers and probes into the ramp, you know, I think that's a disaster for Astrea. It wouldn't have worked out as well if the War Prism had lived, too. That aggressive blink, not able to kill the War Prism, so it comes back in with just even a little bit more micro on some of the Immortals, and that would have lessened at least the supply difference at the very end. It would have been 20 army supply versus 30, and then herO actually has the Immortal on the low ground. You know, the game's continuing on, and then it's the, well, herO has more probes, that Astrea has a third base. Like, how does this work? But Astrea did have such a overwhelming army supply at the very end with the block of the Immortal, too. He was able to win on the counter. I really do believe, though, that, like, Astrea is not supposed to win that game. At the time of which he was down in workers, going for the base trade, the correct call is that herO is going to win. And that's why herO continued with the base trade, of course. If he thought for a second that he was going to lose, of course he would have recalled, played a little bit safer, I suppose. But, and again, herO does not want to play it safe. We do have Astrea once again with an interesting opener. He has gone for the low ground gateway into Nexus, and the Nexus got down pretty quickly. herO did not scout at all in the last game, and that lack of scouting might stop you from ever being confused by a scout that's trying to deceive you, but it does not give you the ability to block a Nexus. So I think that might have been one of the reasons that Astrea chose to go for this build. As what he said, well, your probe's not coming here, so I'm going to get this Nexus down as fast as possible. And it's one of those situations, again, where if you get it down fast enough, there's not a lot that your opponent can do. It's to a much less severe effect, though, in PvP. Even if you get this Nexus down as fast as you would like, and your shield battery's up and your Stargate's on the way, obviously, if herO wants to dedicate to a one-base build, he absolutely can still kill you. But it's a really good position if Astrea was able to get that Nexus without any block, and it seems to be the case. Oracle being chronoed out first and foremost seems a little ballsy, but, you know, it's really not. This Oracle's going to threaten the main base of herO and perhaps even win Astrea the game. herO went for a proxy, kind of, but I'm actually not even sure he meant to proxy Robo. He might have done that as soon as he realized what Astrea had chosen to do. This might have been for, once again, a proxy Stargate, which did net him a very big lead in the early game of Game 1. And then he was forced to change his mind. But he hasn't changed his mind to a Robo totally. He actually is going into Blink after this. I mean, okay, that's going to be interesting. War Prism deposits off to Adepts, which is really not much for Astrea to do about. Like, he doesn't have any units. Your biggest strength is the wall, which the War Prism doesn't exist. But the Void Ray finally pops out. The Oracle will eventually get Pulsar Energy again. And, you know, this isn't going to kill enough probes, but it is a good start. Disrupting the economy at all is better than the alternative. Saves the Adepts, too. More damage done. Oracle completely denied from going across the map, too. herO is making it work, as he is ultimately preparing to go for a Blink Stalker all in. Oh, War Prism does get caught. That is unfortunate. War Prism now gone. Might want to rebuild that. And that is a big chunk of change. Yeah. Adept harassment no longer as scary, too. I think the Blink Stalkers could still do it, but it's, I think it's worthwhile for the Oracle to use the Revelation. Eventually, it'll go across the map, and at this point, clearly there should be a shield battery, so I don't think Astrea's thinking that's going to be a problem. But he does need to get a scout. He has no idea if his opponents even tried to expand, or is going to Blink all in, or if it was an Immortal all in, and now we're waiting for Disruptors, you know, whatever. Like, he doesn't know. So the Oracle would love to get over there, and then also get a Stasis Trap if possible. Blink is almost done for herO. He's behind 15 workers. That's also the amount that Astrea can pull before worrying about losing out in the economy game, because it's still 2 Nexus to 1. Void Rays are in a good number. 3's pretty good. 4th just started up. Shield Battery in the main, very much necessary, and that is a little bit late. Considerably late, perhaps. Blink is used, of course, to get into the main base. That Shield Battery are going to be targeted, but this prismatic alignment is going to ward away the Stalkers, so more Shield Batteries should be being placed. That wasn't a cancel Shield Battery, by the way. That was just a kill. Astrea, quick to slap another one down, but might want to slap down too. 4th Void Ray does join in, but that is the only one now with prismatic alignment. Shield Batteries at the front, starting to get targeted down. It's about chipping away here until you have the critical number of Stalkers. So 1 shot of Void Ray, that wasn't quite it. Does 2 shot though. Prismatic alignment, at least 1 Void Ray helping out. Tries to target the Warp Prism. The micro from herO is going to save it though. And more Void Rays could be falling down here. No, the one will be saved. Thank you, Shield Battery. And this game is not over yet. Another Stalker could go down, but the Void Rays are going to be blinked upon. Saved again by the Shield Battery, and the overcharge perfectly timed. An Immortal pops out as well, and with the Zealots leading the charge, that is going to be it. That is an insurmountable force. Astrea will get the 2-0 and advance on to face Clem.